Good morning. I'm Hassan Al-Khalil. Welcome to Neural Newscast. We're beginning today with a sobering development out of Minneapolis, one that has really brought the human cost of federal immigration policy into a very sharp, very painful focus. A routine enforcement operation has turned fatal, and it is raising some significant questions about the use of force and, well, just the current intensity of domestic security measures across the country.
And I'm Cole Mercer. You know, Hassan, in the early hours of this latest immigration crackdown, an immigration and customs enforcement officer shot and killed a motorist in Minneapolis. The victim has now been identified as a mother of 3. This incident marks a violent start to what the administration has described as a surge in enforcement efforts nationwide. It's a moment that really demands a close look at where national security directives and local public safety actually intersect.
Right. And Cole, the details coming out of Minneapolis are still being processed by the local authorities there. What do we actually know about the specific circumstances of this encounter? I mean, often these operations are planned with such high precision, yet this result really suggests a major breakdown in the expected protocol, wouldn't you say?
Exactly. Hassan, the shooting occurred during what was intended to be a standard immigration enforcement action. While the full sequence of events is still under investigation, the outcome was a fatal discharge from an ICE officer's weapon. The fact that the deceased was a mother of 3 has naturally intensified the scrutiny on the ground. From a security perspective, you have to understand these operations are incredibly high stakes. When agents are directed to increase the pace and the volume of apprehensions, the margin for error just thins. We are seeing a real shift toward more aggressive field tactics as part of this new surge directive.
It's important to note that this isn't happening in a vacuum. It occurs in a much broader environment of policy shifts. I mean, we're not just seeing an increase in domestic enforcement, but also a significant pivot in how the United States interacts with international frameworks. The administration recently moved to exit 66 international organizations. There is this palpable sense of a closing door, both at the border and in the diplomatic sphere.
That is a critical connection, Hassan. Totally. The internal security posture is really reflecting that external isolationist trend. By withdrawing from these organizations, the U.S. is signaling a preference for unilateral action. Domestically, that translates into federal agencies like ICE operating with a much broader mandate and, arguably, less external oversight. The surge in Minneapolis is a localized manifestation of a national strategy to assert absolute control over who is within the borders, regardless of the established social fabric in those communities.
In the Middle East and other regions, we often see how heavy-handed internal security can destabilize local trust. In Minneapolis, the community response has been one of shock and grief. When federal agents enter a city and a resident is killed, it creates a friction point between local law enforcement and federal authorities. How does the defense establishment view this tension, Cole? I mean, it has to be a concern.
It really is. The defense and national security communities are quite divided on this. On one hand, there's the drive for operational efficiency, the idea that the law must be enforced without exception. But on the other hand, there's the intelligence reality that community cooperation is essential for long-term stability. When federal actions lead to civilian deaths, it compromises the human intelligence network that local police rely on to keep cities safe. This shooting could lead to a chilling effect, where immigrant communities withdraw further into the shadows, making them harder to protect and, frankly, harder to monitor.
And there is also the matter of the administration's focus elsewhere. I mean, we're seeing headlines about Marco Rubio planning to meet with Danish officials regarding interest in Greenland, and then there are the ongoing threats from the Iranian army chief. It seems the executive branch is managing multiple high-pressure fronts simultaneously. Does this contribute to a sense of urgency that might lead to, well, errors in judgment on the front lines in places like Minnesota?
It's a valid observation. When the top-down pressure is to achieve results across a dozen different geopolitical and domestic fronts, the pressure on the individual officer increases. The surge in immigration enforcement is being messaged as a primary victory for the administration. When officers are told that their work is the tip of the spear for national sovereignty, it changes the psychological landscape of a standard traffic stop or a warrant execution. It hardens the approach, Hassan.
The victim's family and advocates in Minneapolis are calling for transparency, but that is a difficult path. Federal investigations into their own agents are often, opaque. From your experience, Cole, what is the likelihood of a significant change in protocol following a tragedy like this? Or is this considered an acceptable risk within the current policy framework?
Historically, ICE has maintained a high degree of autonomy. Unless there is a sustained legislative or judicial intervention, an individual shooting, no matter how tragic, rarely shifts the broader operational directive of a national surge. The administration's current trajectory suggests that enforcement will continue to accelerate. The tragedy in Minneapolis will likely be framed by federal officials as an isolated incident occurring within a necessary and dangerous mission.
It is a stark reminder of the complexities of governance and the immediate impact of policy on human life. As we continue to track the U.S. retreat from global cooperation and the hardening of its borders, the events in Minneapolis serve as a focal point for the debate over what kind of security the country is pursuing. Thank you for that insight, Cole. Truly.
Indeed, we will continue to monitor the final sober note on the ongoing nature of the story. Indeed, we will continue to monitor the federal response and the developments in the investigation. This is a story that is far from over.
That concludes our report for this morning. For more in-depth analysis of these and other stories, stay with us throughout the day. I am Hassan Al-Khalil.
And I am Cole Mercer. Thanks for joining us. Neural Newscast is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. View our AI transparency policy at neuralnewscast.com.